I'm really sorry.
Oh, Canada! Welcome back to another episode of Cooking Ain't Complicated. My name's Chef Saint, and today we're celebrating the 150th birthday of our neighbors to the north, Canada, with some traditional street food, poutine, or poutine, depends on how you like to pronounce it. Poutine's closer to the Quebecois that it came from. Anyways, it's a street dish. It's made for after bar. You have a few too many beers, you need something to soak up all that alcohol. They developed French fries with cheese curds sprinkled liberally on top and covered in a wonderful brown beef gravy. It's so simple. There are so many different permutations of this recipe, but we're going to take it simple. We're going to go old school. Today, to celebrate Canada, we've got poutine and some Molson. We're going to have a good time. Thanks for joining us. Alright, so the next step involves making the gravy. Now this part is as simple or as complex as you want to make it. Me, I decided to go simple today. I decided to make my beef stock from a bouillon, which you can do. It's absolutely passable. If you want to use store-bought beef stock, you can do that. If you want to make your own beef stock, boil it down with some meat products and make your own, hey, go for it. It's about 100 degrees. That's about too much work for me today. So, I decided to keep it simple. So I'm feeding a bunch of people. There's a lot of people here who want some poutine. So, I got 4 cups of beef stock. I got 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of softened salted butter. And about the same 8 tablespoons of sifted flour. Add to that, we got just some regular criminy mushrooms, and we're going to make our beef stock gravy. So let's get to it. What you want to do is you want to turn your oven or your stove or whatever you're cooking on to medium-high heat. So I'm set mine for about 350. And I'm going to throw this pre-softened butter in. Now the reason I pre-soften it, just because I want it to melt quicker. There's no other reason in this particular recipe. So throw that in there. Let me get a paddle here. You just watch that melt. Alright, work it around till your butter's nice and melty. Once you do that, we are ready to add our flour. Kind of mix that in. Keep it working around. Now the object here is to make a roux, which is just a mixture of flour and butter. You want it to get to be about a golden brown, but you want to make sure that all the butter is incorporated into that flour. This is what gives gravy that amazing texture. But you want it to get a little color from cooking off of the bottom of that pan first, so about 30 seconds to a minute here. Okay, now that we're starting to get a bit more color to that, we're going to add in our beef stock. I'm going to switch to a whisk. And get all that goodness in there. And you want to whisk that around to make sure that the roux is thoroughly incorporated. You want to spill a little too. It makes your kitchen look like you did some work. We're going to keep that on the same medium-high temperature. And we're going to keep an eye on it. But while that is bringing itself up to a low boil, we're going to go ahead and cut some mushrooms. kind of want it to be about like that. So as I get them done, I'm going to incorporate them into the gravy, let them cook in with that beef stock. Okay, once that's hit a hard boil for about 3 minutes, I would turn it down to low, about 250, and we're going to let that simmer for a little bit. Now while it's doing that, we're going to get into the next stage of things. We are going to cut some potatoes, if I can find them. I went with Yukon Gold. Yukon Gold is a butterier potato, for my purposes. Butterier tasting, I should say. And we're going to go for a fairly thin fry strip. So about like that. About 1/4 inch. Okay, so now we got them all sliced. We're going to give them just a little bit more. Cut them into a traditional French fry type shape. Kind of steak fry. Kind of big. We're going to make them kind of big. We want them nice and meaty. Okay. Now that we got that all chopped up, we're going to put some cold water over it just to rinse the starch off of it so they're less, I guess chewy is what the word is we're looking for. It's not exactly the right descriptor, but basically you want to rinse all the starch off. Okay. Our gravy is just about through. Now I'm going to take a taste. Another spoon out here. Cooks taste a lot while you're cooking. The idea is that you're not salting it all at once or anything like that. You're seasoning it as you go. So there's a lot of tasting going on. So nice beefy mushroomy flavor. It's fantastic. Didn't even need to add more mushrooms. Okay, so we're gonna let that go for a minute. The next step, when we come back, we're going to start frying us some potatoes. All right, so we're ready. Our fries have been rinsed. We are going to put them in, I got a 50-50 mixture of vegetable oil and peanut oil. Peanut oil I just like to use for the taste. But I got it going at about 350 degrees. We're ready. Now we're going to do a double fry method here. What that's going to allow us to do is it's going to seal in all the juiciness of the French fries, the potatoes themselves, and then we're going to flash cool them in the freezer, bring them down to temp again, and then we're going to throw them in the oil again. And what that's going to allow for a crisper outside while keeping it nice and fluffy on the inside. So, with that said, we're going to start dunking these bad boys in. Don't burn your hands. It's really easy to do. You don't want to go overboard either. Probably going to put about half of this in there. And we're just going to let it bubble. Hark, I hear the beer fairy whispering in my ear. That's right. We have beer. And what better way to celebrate a drunken Canadian street food than with good old-fashioned imported Canadian beer. Molson. You would not believe how hard it is to find around here. Yeah. Get some. I'm going to offer one to my cameraman here.
Thank you, good sir.
Here's to you, Canada. Refreshing. Okay, so we're going to start pulling them out now from their first cook. Let them drain over the pot. You don't want to make a huge mess. Lesson learned by hard experience. And since I'm using a pot and not a fry basket, here's how we're doing it. If you use a fryer, obviously this part's handled. But you want to take them out. And you want to make sure that they are drained as well as you can. You don't want to get that oil everywhere. Get every last one of the stragglers. Kind of shake it off a little bit. There you have it. Raw to cooked. We're going to throw those in the freezer for 1 hour. And then we're going to come back and give them their second cook. And by then we'll be ready to top them bad boys and dig in. I can't wait. I'm so excited. That might be the beer talking. It's probably not. Okay, so we got our French fries out of the freezer. We got our oil up to 450. We're going to give these bad boys a second fry. Just toss them right in there. Keep your hands away from the oil. Lord knows you don't need to get burned. And we're going to let those go for probably around 5 minutes or so. Keep an eye on them. They float really well when they become crispy. So keep an eye on how they float and how they cook. And there's definitely the sound you're looking for. Crunchy. Throw those down on some paper towels. Let them drain for a second. And we're going to hit them with not too much. The gravy brings its own salt. You don't want to go overboard. But it's not a salty French fry if it's not a salty French fry. Coming up, the final product. Alright, so we have all of our ingredients assembled. We have our cheese curd, we have fresh green onion, and of course our French fries. So we're going to toss some of these bad boys on there. Chose a nice big dish. I wanted to kind of be able to spread it out just like that. Now I did a 50-50 mix of regular white cheddar curd and a garlic cheddar curd because I like to live dangerously. But sprinkle that liberally over the top. And now hit it with that beef gravy. Delicious. And now we're going to top it. A little spring onion, just to kind of give it a little color, a little kick. It's not a very pretty food, but it's a street food. It's not designed to be pretty. It's designed to soak up alcohol and to make you happy when you're drunk. Let me tell you, it accomplishes that times 10. And there you have a street food from Montreal and Quebec, Canada, called Poutine. Not healthy, but God, is it delicious. I want to thank you guys for joining me yet again on another episode of Cooking Ain't Complicated. I want to say happy birthday to my friends up in Canada. 150 years.
Hey.
Doing it right, eh? Oh. Beer. Can't have it without beer. So this, I dare say, would be the perfect food for when you're cracking a cold one with the boys. Prost. Thanks for joining me.